Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Voyage, Soul Search and Destroy. And today, I have with me some local talent from Los Angeles. Please welcome Kai of Valley Lights. Welcome, Kai.
Woo! Thank you, Hannah. It's great to be here. Great to see you again.
Of course. I mean, a little bit of context. He and I met at a very important concert here in Los Angeles, the Midnight, playing on July 30th. It really just goes to show this is a small world. So it's good to see you again, man.
Great to see you again. Yeah, and we're both here soaking up the sunshine in the valley.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Imagine it being October and 96 degrees. Oh well, that's the valley for you. So speaking of the valley, let's dive right in and talk about you, Mr. Valley Lights, and your music and your work. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Have you always been a musician?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much I've always been a fan of music, and then I think I started playing guitar like early high school, and yeah, just kind of did music my whole life, playing in, oh, can I swear or should I not swear?
You can swear.
Okay. Yeah, anyways, playing in just like shitty high school bands, playing cover songs and stuff, but that's kind of where I got my start. And then the Killers came out kind of in the early 2000s, and I love that sort of fusion of rock and then the synth stuff. And like my whole life I was like, God, I want to capture that sound of like New Order or The Cure or The Killers, kind of just like synthy, rocky, pop type stuff. And then I kind of stopped doing music for a long time, and I found Synthwave, and like I literally felt like I had been searching for this genre for my whole life. But I just felt, I heard like Ollie Ride and Josh Daly and Calyx and, Time Cop and FM84 and then the Midnight, of course. And I don't know, like I just heard it and I was like, yes, like this is me. Like I love the cheesy quality of it. Like it doesn't take itself too seriously, which is what I like, like I played in a lot of metal bands and stuff, and I was like, I'm just not this angry or depressed or pissed off to be doing this. Like I like to smile and have fun. And I felt like when I found Synthwave, like I was able to really be me, and I could still have over the top guitar solos and stuff like that, but just be a little bit more lighthearted about everything. And it just, after I was listening to Synthwave for a while, and then I went through this like horrible breakup, and I just like started seeing like song titles in my head and like lyrics, and I was like, man, I have to make this album. Like I've never felt like so called to do something before. I was just like, if I don't do this, there's gonna be like a hole missing in my soul for the rest of my life. And so I just started doing it, and that's kind of how I got back into music, was starting on this album 2-Lane Highway about a year and a half ago. So it's been a crazy ride.
I should say so. That is a pretty crazy ride, but like I think it's a classic musician's journey to start out in a subpar college band, cut your teeth, and then once you're getting your sea legs, you really start to figure out who you are through a musical journey. And it's interesting what you say about metal. A lot of synthwave people, synthwave fans and synthwave musicians have connections to metal or the metal scene. But you also mentioned something about how different the genres are in terms of how they, generally speaking, hold themselves. Like you said, you didn't want to take everything so seriously because metal has a reputation of, or at least with the doomer scene, taking things very seriously, sometimes too much so. And synthwave has a little bit more levity to it, at least some of the stuff that I think you and I are into, at least.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's like you meet these metal musicians, and of course they're not as stoic as they are on stage. They're laughing and having fun like everybody else. But I'm just thinking, like in terms of like stage presence, I just couldn't be up there like riffing and like I don't know. I'm just like to have a little bit more fun.
Like when all that adrenaline is coursing through your body in front of the stage, you can't help but smile, you can't help but laugh, you can't help but emote what you're actually feeling, which I think is why people love music. Because even when there's, the idea of music is that there's something sincere about it, even when it's clearly a niche or one that's all about the stage. There is something sincere that comes out of making music. I mean,
Yeah.
I am not a songwriter or a musician myself, but it sounds like you tap into that sort of thing a lot.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just I, I don't think everybody has to be a musician or an artist or something. Like I was super satisfied just listening to music for a long time, but it's like I think if you feel called to do it, just like anything in life, you shouldn't hinder yourself. And if you really feel called to do something, just do it and have fun with it.
Yeah, answer the call to the wild, the call to nature, the call to music, whatever that call may be, because there's no answering
Exactly.
machine. You have to just pick up the receiver. So tell us a little bit about your musical style. What are your musical influences?
I'm pretty much like all over the place. Like I grew up like I feel like everybody of our generation and younger where, we were able to tap into kind of whatever we wanted after a certain point. I grew up listening to like 3 6 Mafia, Alice in Chains, Children of Bodom, and then like I said, The Cure, New Order, all of that stuff. And I don't know how much any of those actually influence my current music, but I think it's all kind of there in the background. I think the most similar artists, as I mentioned, are probably like The Cure or New Order because they kind of have that synth thing going on. But again, when I'm making my music, I'm not directly like kind of tapping into that. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I'm just like kind of feeling a vibe. And usually it's emotional for me. Like, what am I trying to access in terms of emotion? Like, is it going to be melancholy? I mean, a lot of this record was dealing with a breakup, so it is kind of this melancholic longing. But the realization I had was I didn't want to make depressing music. I didn't want to write an album where it's like, yeah, everything's fucked and I'm sad and I'm gonna make everybody feel sad. I was just like, hey, like it was a big realization for me where it's like, like these things happen in our lives and we don't have to carry that weight around with us. We don't have to be angry and bitter and whether it's a breakup or any other sort of trauma or whatever, like we are the ones who view that sort of what has happened. And I was just like, like at the end of the day, I'm kind of happy about this experience. Like I'm kind of thankful for it because it inspired me to get back into music. And that's how I look at it. I basically feel like I was given the gift of music from this very traumatic experience that I went through. And so when I'm writing, it's just kind of like looking at these things and how do I view them and how do I turn these into beautiful pieces of art and music?
Wow, that was beautifully put. I mean, being able to, because that's what music often is for people, a coping mechanism, but also a way for them to work with whatever they're feeling, whether it's positive or negative. And by the way, I do hear quite a bit of the New Order sound in your album, sort of very a Bernard Sumner-y kind of vibe going on there. And it's so interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Killers earlier. You mentioned Alice in Chains. I think we grew up during the same era. Are you also a 90s baby?
No, I'm an 80s baby,
Oh
but
my
90s
goodness.
kid.
You
Yeah.
just look very young to me.
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
I've been blessed.
indeed. But yeah, no, in all seriousness though, like I remember hearing that kind of music growing up too, and it did play an influence, and I can hear that influence in your album. And by the way, I'd love to talk to you more about your album. So, next question. Two Lane Highway. How did that come about? You said it came about inspired by a breakup, but what was the writing process? How did you come up with the melodies, the lyrics, the composition? What went into making that album?
So I was really fortunate enough. My forte is really like vocals, lyrics, and songwriting. Like I'm not a great producer, and so I managed to find some just really great people to work with, and that allowed me to focus on what I wanted to do, which was the lyrics and the storytelling, because like that's just I've always like really enjoyed words and poetry and things like that. And I would either do basic songwriting on my own and then send it to my producer. Basically, I would get a track back that was more or less what I was looking for, and then from there, I mean, the reason this album is called Two Lane Highway is I was staying in a small town in New Mexico, where my mom lives, and it's literally just like a dusty little 2 lane highway that goes through the mountains. And I would just get these songs and I would drive up and down that road. And like I said, I would have song titles or snatches of lyrics in my head, and I would just have my dog in my in my passenger seat, and we would just cruise up and down the road, and I would just be doing vocalizations and singing. And yeah, the first 2 songs I wrote were Headlights and then the title track, which is 2 Lane Highway. And so it was just a matter of kind of like putting all the pieces together. And then, there's a few songs with saxophone or guitar solo, and I would just sort of like fill them out from there, and I would just find the right people to play on it. And it all just kind of fell into place for me like that. And in terms of basic songwriting, I think for me, I kind of get the title first. Like, I almost think of it as like a thesis paper, where it's like, here's the title, and then from there, you get the chorus, right? And you repeat the chorus over and over, and then the verses you sort of fill in between, and it's almost just like a little puzzle that I figure out and build together. And to me, the title of a song is very important because it really is what brings it all together. And then obviously, yeah, like I said, I'm really into lyrics. So the words are very important to me. And just like, I don't know, I like having fun with it. And like, having listened to a lot of hip hop, like doing, I don't try to do crazy wordplay or anything like that, but just simple stuff like Valley Romance. I say she's a Virgo looking for a good time, dark hair, long legs, that's a good sign, right?
That usually is a good sign.
I just like to have fun with it and play with it until it's right.
Speaking of playing with it, I can't help but notice the guitar in the background, and that leads me to my next question. Tell us about the equipment you use, because it sounds like you are a singer and you also are an instrumentalist. So
my main instrument is guitar, and again, like I definitely tried to be like a super shredder at a certain point, but then I was just kind of like, I don't think this is my thing. Like I really prefer just like the songwriting component. So I have like a Taylor, just like an acoustic Taylor, where I could write just basic songwriting, just kind of like chords and things like that. And then, like I said, I would kind of just like demo some stuff pretty simply. I use Logic. Again, not really a great engineer or producer, but enough to like demo, and then I could send it to my producers and have it filled out. And then from there, it was just a matter of communication and kind of nailing down just kind of where I wanted it, or if we needed chorus, or if we needed to change the song structure a little bit. I have a buddy who's a really prolific drummer. He's amazing. His name's Adam. And he was in this small town where I was at. I just hit him up, and I knew he had a little studio, so I would go over to his place where I'd track my vocals. And this album really is a testament to the time we live in, because this was like post-pandemic, and I literally did all of this shit on the internet. My producer, one is in France, one's in Argentina. I would send this stuff back and forth. I would track my vocals in New Mexico. I would send them to Argentina to get them, tweaked. And then I would get the tracks mixed and mastered. I got a sax player in Australia, and it's like all of this shit is collaborative, and it's happening over the internet, and I'm doing it from this like tiny little town. And I was like, this is insane. Like, how, I can't believe this is possible right now. I got a record deal in London from the internet. Like it's crazy. And it's really just a testament to, if you put your mind to something, you can just do it. If you have a vision, like that's all I had. I just had a vision and a desire to get it done. And I kind of just reached a point where I was like, I'm not going to let anything stand in my way. And I was like, I can't produce very well, so I'm going to find a producer. I can't play saxophone. I'll find a sax player, I'll just get it done. Yeah, it was crazy. And it just opened my eyes to what we're capable of, not only in terms of our own spiritual resources and desire to do something, but also the technology that we have access to and the amount of people we have access to through the internet and this age of connectivity that we have. Like, you can really do whatever you want.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, two-lane highway started out in a tiny backwater town in New Mexico that literally has a two-lane highway to being this multinational event over here. Like, you've got a multinational team, this intercontinental affair going on with this album. So that's actually a really beautiful story, but also staggering. Like, what was it like working with people from all around the world on this one project?
It was really cool, and again, it kind of felt surreal the whole time, to be honest with you, because when I first started, I was having this major artistic block because I think a lot of artists, we feel this desire to do everything ourselves and control everything, which I had done. Mm-hmm. I'd put out a record a long time ago, and I'd done my own recording and mixing and mastering. And to be honest, it was all really mediocre. And I was just like, I want to have a good product here. And for me, what I had to do is sort of step away and be like, this is what I'm good at. I'm good at lyrics, vocals, storytelling. Like, I had to step back and be like, that's what I'm good at. I wasn't doing anything because I felt like I had to produce everything on my own. I was like, I want to do this, but I don't know how to produce Synthwave. Like, it's so stylized and it sounds so good, and the drums, like, I literally wasn't doing anything because I was like, well, in order to do this, I have to produce my own tracks, but I don't know how to do that. And I just had this epiphany where I was like, but what if I didn't? What if I didn't have to do everything on my own? And so once I started working with these different producers, like, the juices just started flowing, right? And I feel like a lot of artists trap themselves in that way, where they just say, I have to do everything, or there's this insurmountable object in my way that I can't go around. But there is a way around it. And once you figure that out, like, once I figured out, okay, maybe I don't have to do that, then the artistic juices, like, I just started writing songs left and right. And it was like boom, 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 boom. And yeah, to be able to work with this team from literally all over the world to, like, accomplish this vision was just, like I said, it's a testament to the world we live in today, and how easy it is to just get things done if you put your mind to it.
Right, exactly. I mean, I can't really comment because I've never done anything that multinational, but you're right, it can feel surreal once you're doing something of that scale and that is that collaborative. And you're right about this being a product of our times, because this has been a really difficult time all around the world, but the fact that your album is sort of a reflective of the positive aspects of that interconnectivity. And I think that speaks a lot about this community and this genre of music and this sort of level of collaboration, and we're all in this together. Sort of, I'm not going to call it complete unity, but there is a sort of a sense of team play going on here that sounds like it would be just heavenly to work with.
Yeah. Well, and also without the pandemic, like, I don't even know if I would have gone about it this way, because the pandemic kind of, I wouldn't say it inspired us, but it forced us to sort of, we couldn't actually be out meeting people or interacting with people in person. And I think it kind of allowed us to view social media and online communities in a different way, right? Because we couldn't have those face-to-face interactions. And so, I don't know if I would have made this album or made it in the same way had it not been for the pandemic and sort of spending that time online and sort of realizing how many resources there are out there that they don't need to be in the same city or even the same state or even the same country that you're in.
I mean, talk about making lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You used to be involved in the metal scene. Do you find yourself incorporating elements from your previous experience into the music you write now?
Like, I think my biggest metal influence has got to be Children of Bodom. And are you familiar with them at all?
Yes.
So like Alexi Laiho was just like my hero, and I just like fucking, he was like a guitar god. I loved his vocals. Like I don't like a lot of death metal screams, but there was something about his voice when he was screaming that I just loved. And the other thing about Children of Bodom that I feel like they did that a lot of other metal bands didn't is they just had this great way of being heavy as fuck and just like punching you in the face. But then they had these melodic lines and these like poppy elements to it. They had the keyboards going, and they had breakdowns where I was just like, this could be like an EDM song, like some of the early like Children of Bodom stuff. And I just love that about them because I love heavy, but I also have like extreme like pop sensibilities, and I want to hear melody, and I want to hear catchy stuff, and I want to hear sing-along stuff. And I mean, I think that's the biggest component is I just wanted to have some awesome guitar solos. And then, you know, Two Lane Highway, great track that has like, I wouldn't qualify it as metal, but it has really it has like a driving guitar line through the whole thing that's just like kind of pummeling you. Like the album to me has a lot of different influences. There's a rock metal component, like you've got Two Lane Highway, and then California has like kind of this, it's a little bit more like major key, but also like very heavy on the guitar. And then there's like the funk kind of, I loved 80s funk so much, like the Gap Band, and then, you know, like Daft Punk. And so that song Valley Romance, like I was like, I need to get like something with some funk. Like I love funk. And I don't think the album is really like a traditional synthwave album. I feel like it's kind of all over the place, but that's kind of like me. Like I was like, I want this album to capture who I am. And yeah, and then there's like some more pop stuff like Bonfire, and what I consider more traditional synthwave, like Headlights, which, you know, has the ripping saxophone on it. And I mean, it was just important to kind of like show all my little influences where I could.
Yeah, I'm glad you did, because I think it's a testament to how this movement is growing. I mean, you came into this movement because you didn't want to take yourself seriously or get pigeonholed in a way that another genre you worked in had kind of pushed you into. And I think a lot of people sometimes have preconceptions as to what, like rules as to what a genre is supposed to be. But so many artists now, especially, are sort of challenging that. They are changing the sounds, they're changing the rules, they are allowing the genre to be a reflection of themselves and not make themselves a reflection of the genre. So in that regards, I do think Two Lane Highway fits the genre very well. But like with all amazing albums, often the best albums in the world, regardless of genre, have a way of pushing the rules, pushing the envelope, and pushing expectations, which is why they become so memorable in the first place and sort of reassemble the standards to a certain degree.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And like I said, I don't think it is traditional, but I also feel like cohesively the album works. I mean, I think it just totally works together, and I also think it works in the scene. I think that it works as a synthwave album, but I also do think that it kind of is, you know, pushing the boundaries in different little directions, and I just want to keep exploring that, honestly. Like for me, like I said, I just like to have fun, and the moment it starts to feel like stagnant is when it starts to feel like boring and you don't want to do it. And I just want to, whether it's, I mean, I think it will always be like synthwave adjacent, but I just want to keep pushing the boundaries, and wherever that takes me, you know, that's where I'll be, and I'll be having fun with it.
Well, carry on, my wayward son, as they say.
Thank you.
Hey, no worries. So on that note, thank you so much for stopping in. I mean, I am super excited to hear what you have next, because Two Lane Highway is an excellent album. And if you have any other projects on the pipeline, please let me know, because I'd love to have you back and discuss them with me.
Definitely. Right now, my main focus is I think getting into performance shape. So
Okay.
I was so focused on recording the album, and then I signed the record deal with Outland Recordings, and then we started doing promo and putting out singles. I think what I want to do next is like try to start playing some shows. So I think I might try to do a record release show here in Los Angeles. So I'll definitely hit you up.
Yes, please do. Please do. And if you ever want me to interview you or your bandmates before or after the tour or at some point, let me know.
Hell yeah. And then I'm always writing. Like I started writing for the second album basically right after the first one. So I have a few songs sort of written, and it's coming along. I don't know if I'll have any new material anytime soon, but I'm always working, always writing, and my main thing is to keep the momentum going. So we shot a music video for Dreams, which is going to be coming out this month. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Yes, excellent cover of Fleetwood Mac, by the way. Everyone, check it out if you can. Well, on that note, Kai Moser, thank you so much for stopping in. This has been so much fun. And everyone, remember to check out Valley Lights on Spotify, on Instagram, on Bandcamp, Outland Records. Check out his music. I highly recommend it. I mean, if you are at a loss of what to put on when you're driving at night, because you are eventually going to be driving at night, I recommend this one. Have your own little two-way highway experience. Thank you so much, Kai, for coming in.
Thank you, Hannah. No, it was great. It was a pleasure to be here, and happy to be back anytime, and it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Of course. Well, thank you so much, Valley Lights. This has been a pleasure. And everyone, if you want more interviews with more great people like Valley Lights over here, remember to like and subscribe to Voyage with Soul Search and Destroy. And remember, be good out there, be good people. Thank you, and good night. Indeed.